Hey, I'm MindieKniss. This is the Daily Rage. Got a question and then a comment on the blog yesterday. So let's take a look at those and then let's look at the NASDAQ. It's trying for 20,000 and it's just struggling to get there. So Mark asks, how many ticks do you use for stops? And that completely depends on what I'm trading in terms of which setup I'm using. I have a variety of different setups that I teach in my courses. So it just depends which one I pick. I don't have a standard that I'm going for. And I'll give you an example of why I might change it up. I might change it up when I am trading the NASDAQ versus trading the Dow. I'm going to have to use a wider, well, not have to, but it's probably a good idea to use a wider stop on the NASDAQ just because it's much more crazy in terms of its volatility. So I would use a wider stop on the NAS, a smaller stop on, say, the Russell or the Dow. And then Kyle says that FOMC 123 trade may be dead. There's too much up and down price action happening to know what is 123 in real time. In hindsight, when the market is closed, like everything else, it's easy to identify. I don't know, maybe I'm just not experienced enough for this trade. Either way, I stay away, LOL. So, Kyle, that's not a bad plan. Nothing wrong with that. But I wouldn't say that it is dead. I mean, I made money on the first three yesterday. And then when I attempted a second three, let's call it, that's when I kind of got messed up. So it definitely worked. It just didn't have a lot of follow through. There has been in the last, even this year, 2024, FOMC days where I've made a lot more money. And that's only because the trade does still work. Now, I think this part is maybe where you're getting, caught is like, what is 123 in real time? And like I said yesterday, that's going to very much depend on your interpretation. And sometimes, I mean, for all of us, our interpretation is going to be wrong. And sometimes it's going to be right. So I do still like this trade because it is a very simple setup. And when it does work, in other words, like when it works and there's follow through, that can be a beautiful situation. And like I said, I have had that in just this year, 2024. So yesterday's, yes, it was janky AF, but I would not say that the trade overall is dead. Now, let's talk about janky AF because this morning on the NASDAQ, let me open up this 2-minute time frame. This was such a pain in the butt this morning. So 6:30, this was PPI. So number release here, great movement, and then kind of just fell back down. And then if we go over here to this right here was the open, and then just a bunch of chop until like this was the only good thing that happened. And then from there, we chopped around again, did push a little bit lower, but is just kind of waffling around. And if we take a look at the daily, that totally shows up on the daily. It's essentially not much more than a doji. We'll see where we end up. It might be just like a tiny spinning top, but either way, tons of indecision. How do we know that? Because there's big wicks on both sides. That's a very wicky candle, which makes it more difficult to trade. Now, for those of you that are like me and are mostly day traders, this is very, very challenging. And here's the thing, though, we don't get to pick what the market's going to do when we show up to trade in the morning. Some days are going to be just rock star, like, whoo, let's go up. Or, even yesterday was pretty solid. But then there are days like today. And the key is to know how to navigate that and not lose all your money when it goes through a period of chopping up and down. I'm MindieKniss. Thanks so much for watching.